Hey everybody, my name is Ignacio and today we're here to do another video game review. And this time we're going to be going back to the past and reviewing a PlayStation 2 game, and that is Ruler Rose. I am an honor to have this game in my collection, and the reason why is because this game is really rare and expensive for the game. A copy of this game can cost you around over $200 just for even a used copy of this game, and even just like a sealed copy of this game can cost you like over like $500 or $400. Is usually around that range. It's 400 to 500, and I paid $166 for this game used. And for the condition what it is, it's great. This is a great condition, and $166 is a steal for this game. And I don't know, I'm just happy that I got this game now in my collection, because I've been wanting this game for like 2 years when I first heard about it, and I finally own it, and I finally got to experience the game myself. And yes, I am a horror fan. I like my horror games, and I'm willing to go as far to pay a lot of money for this game. So I'm sorry, there's so much I want to talk about here, like seriously guys, and I'm just here to give you guys my opinion about it. I paid $166, so I might as well just do a review on it. So first thing before we start, I do want to say there's only 2 ways that you can play Ruler Rose in, and that is on the PlayStation 2. You have to buy a copy of it, or the other way you can pay for it, or play it, I mean to say, is on your PC. The thing about the PC, you do have to emulate the game for your PS2 on your PC. So if you're just like me, who does not know anything about that and refuse to learn how to do it, you're just going to have to be like the fool like me, have to pay a lot of money for this game. So, yeah. So before we review the game, I do want to talk about the history behind why is Ruler Rose such a rare game. So the story behind the making of the game was that the company who made it is called Altez, and Altez is a Japanese company. And so when Ruler Rose when it was time for the game to come localized back in like 2005, I think it was, America looked at Ruler Rose as a game that they think that this is a type of game that they think that it even shouldn't exist for what the game was. And the reason why was because of due to its sexual nature to young children and abuse of animals in this game. And because of those 2 reasons alone, what made the United States wonder if this game should even exist. But somehow America gave the game a thumbs up for its release for the United States. And there's a dub version for the game, which is what I have, which is why it's so rare. And they released this in limits of copies for the game. And I do want to keep in mind is that this game came out in 2006, and that is also the same year when the PlayStation 3 was coming out. And a lot of people were probably, their eyes were focused on the 360 and the PS3 at those times. And this game came out very late in its life cycle for the PS2. And because of all those reasons alone, what made Ruler Rose such a rare game. As a matter of fact, I don't even have the soundtrack to the game. As a matter of fact, it's supposed to be like right here on the manual side, but mine never came with it. And I checked on the internet on that soundtrack and see how much people were selling it for, and oh my gosh, one guy was selling it for $150 for the soundtrack alone, and I was like, I paid $166 already for this game. I'm not paying any higher. Oh man. So that's the story behind Ruler Rose, why it's such a rare game, and people just questioned it, like if this game should even exist in a way. And because I am a horror fan, I have to just play it myself and see what the fuss was all about. So let's get started with the review of the game. So you play as a young girl named Jennifer, who is 19 years old, and she was on a bus in the video game, and she runs into this little boy on the bus, and the little boy just runs off on the bus, and Jennifer, the young girl, decides to go off the bus and follows the boy into a mansion. And that's all I'm going to say for the story, because if I go any further than that, then I'm just going to be spoiling the game. And the thing about me, I don't like spoiling for you guys, and I don't like spoiling you guys for gameplay, because that's why I make this review, is no gameplay. And that's all I'm going to say for the story, because like I said, the game is weird. Like, without a doubt, it is one of the weirdest like horror games I ever played. And because of that reason, the elements in Ruler Rose is awesome. Like, there's a lot of things I like about Ruler Rose, but there are a lot of things in Ruler Rose that there's one thing in particular that just bugs the hell out of me in Ruler Rose, which I will get into in a minute. So let's get into Ruler Rose. So the gameplay. So first of all, the graphics. Honestly, dude, it is awesome. The graphics for the PS2. Apparently, during its time, it is one of the best looking games on the PS2. And that's something to expect for a game that came out so late for the PS2 era, because I would have hoped they know how the PS2 works by then. And the graphics in the game just look amazing too. The CGI cutscenes to just the in-game graphics, it just looks great in the game. And also another thing too I like about it was the music. The music. Oh. You know, I play a lot of video games, and I hear a lot of soundtracks in video games, and especially horror games. But Ruler Rose has to be one of the best soundtracks for a horror game I ever had to listen to. It's so simple, it's catchy on the ears when I play the game, and it's just I just have a blast just listening to it. And basically what it is, it's an orchestra, it's a violin playing most of the time and piano playing. So you hear piano and violin throughout most of the game, and it is great. The soundtrack, like I said, it's awesome. I just love listening to it. As a matter of fact, I like the soundtrack so much, I listen to it when I go to work, and that's how much I just really like the music in the game. And another thing too is the storytelling, and even on the back of the cover, it even says, "A story too cruel, too beautiful to be untold." And the story is great, and you know, at some points I still don't get the lore behind Ruler Rose still, but I do understand when I finish the game once I beat it, though. In a little bit, you know. Because it was the conclusions of, like, the whole thing and what happened in the game. And it's just a great game. And so far, everything what I said about the game has been great, right? Like, story-wise is great. Graphics look amazing for its time. And the soundtrack, and the one thing that I have to say right now is that I didn't say real quick was it's the shadows in the game. When you play the game, when you see your shadow, it emulates your shadow really, really good. And the reason why this is such a big deal, why I'm talking about the shadow, is because shadows on PlayStation 2 was something that's really hard to do, and they got it down on this game. And the shadows in the game was revolutionary. Like, the way how they did it was great, and you have to see it for yourself. And I know it's weird to say that we had to talk about shadows, how it's revolutionary during the PS2, but it really was. It was a hard thing to master. So everything I said about the game has been great, right? Well, I really want to give this game like a 10 out of 10 for what it is, but it does not deserve that title. And the reason why is because it's gameplay. The gameplay is the one flaw for most people who play Ruler Rose. And I have to admit, the gameplay is alright. It's not like terrible by any means. It's not terrible, but it's definitely not great. And that is the biggest miss for the game. And that's the thing about horror games. What's the whole point of playing a horror game? Gameplay. You know, and here's the thing. You can have the best horror storytelling of all time, the greatest graphics of all time, greatest soundtrack of all time, and if your gameplay is not even that good, then the game is not the greatest horror game of ever. As a matter of fact, the person who developed the game said themselves in an interview saying that they wanted Ruler Rose to be one of the best horror games out there, and one of the greatest storytelling, and they wanted to do something different for a horror game. First of all, it's not the greatest horror game ever, just because of the gameplay alone. And like it's so hard to explain the game, like the gameplay. So the controls for the game is very simple. It's very easy to control the game. As a matter of fact, the way how the control scheme goes is that whenever the camera in the game, like whenever you're facing a certain, say like you cannot see a certain view, well, you press the R2 button to adjust your camera view to get a better view of your character. So say like there's a direction that the camera doesn't like, that you don't like in, so you can just press R2 and it fixes the camera for you. It's a gimmick that it's something you have to get used to, but it's another thing that it's not a bad mechanic, and it doesn't work all the time. That's the one thing when you do play the game, but if you can get used to it, it's not a bad mechanic. But the biggest miss of Fist is the melee. The fighting mechanic in the game is terrible. Oh my goodness. Half the time in Ruler Rose, what you're going to be doing is running away. And, it is terrible, people. And it's even worse when you go through, like, the end of the game. Like, it's even worse, like, when you go as far to it. And the combat system just needs to be adjusted a little bit. And I wish they done a better job on it. And I will say one thing is that the enemies in the game are very creative. Like they're not scary by any means, but they're goddamn weird, and it gives that, and it is creepy. I'm not gonna lie, it's creepy. The enemies are creepy, but they're not like scary, like you're gonna have nightmares on your bed. But they're creepy enough to be you just like, oh, what the fuck, dude? Like, oh man, that's weird as hell. And that's what Ruler Rose is. It's a like what the fuck game. It's a game that you just question, and it's just like a game that you just like, you're just like, wow. Like, and that's why I think Ruler Rose, and for what it is, it's like kind of a masterpiece. As a matter of fact, even though despite its sexual nature, which is not that graphic, I don't think it is for what people make it out to be. But for what Ruler Rose is, I really wish more companies was inspired for games to be like Ruler Rose, because Ruler Rose is a very creative horror game. I haven't played every horror game, but it is definitely one of the more interesting horror games I played, and for that reason alone, I am honored to have this game and have played it. And it's just a cool game. I really do wish that they really did focus on the gameplay the most than the actual story itself, because I think they focused too hard on the story mode that much. So I think that's all I have to say about Ruler Rose. It's a great game. I give the game a 7 out of 10. It's just the gameplay itself. If they were just to focus on the gameplay, Ruler Rose could have been a sort of a masterpiece, you know? But the real question is it worth to pay a lot of money for a copy of Ruler Rose? Well, here's the way I'm going to break it down for you. If you are a casual horror fan, and if you are new to the horror series, and if you want to play Ruler Rose, do not buy it. It's not worth that much money, because there are a lot more better horror gameplay than Ruler Rose. But if you are a hardcore survival horror gamer like me, that you don't mind for what the game is offering, then Ruler Rose does its job. It really is one of the more unique horror games, and I definitely recommend it. It's a very mixed bag of a video game for most people, but honestly, I do have a special place for this game in my heart, and I'm glad that I had the honor of playing it. So, that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I'm sorry if I really wish I can give out more information about it, but it's just a game that you have to experience yourself, and yeah. Hope you guys enjoy this next time.